Hello and welcome to Current News. My name is Neel. In this special segment, we will discuss news which is important from the perspective of your exam, the bulletin of the last whole week, which might echo in your question paper in the examination hall. Let's begin with the headlines. Political turmoil deepens in Pakistan. National Assembly dissolved after dismissal of no confidence motion. Imran Khan removed from the post of Prime Minister. Debates held in Parliament on granting legal status to same-sex marriage. NCP MP Supriya Sule introduces Private Members Bill in Lok Sabha. Bill proposes changes in the Special Marriage Act for implementing the rights of homosexuals. The government softens its stand on AFSPA after a long struggle. AFSPA removed from some police stations in Assam, Nagaland and Manipur. Tensions increased in Nagaland's Mon district after an incident in which 6 civilians were killed by the security personnel. India and Australia inching towards strengthening economic ties. Agreement signed between the two countries on economic cooperation and trade. Several issues were agreed upon, including tariff and visa for students. IPP report warning the world on climate change released, emphasis on multiple solutions for controlling rapidly changing climate patterns. Greenhouse gas emissions were at its peak between 2010 and 2019. Let's begin with news of the week. Recently, a no-confidence motion was moved against Imran Khan in the National Assembly of Pakistan, which was later dismissed by the Deputy Speaker. After this dismissal, the President dissolved the National Assembly on the advice of Imran Khan. Later, it was also informed that Imran Khan will not be the Prime Minister with immediate effect. After all these happenings, Pakistan's Supreme Court has struck down National Assembly Deputy Speaker's move to dismiss the no-confidence motion and ordered the National Assembly to be restored. The court ordered to organize the no-confidence vote. Let us take a look at the constitutional provisions of both India and Pakistan regarding the no-confidence motion. First of all, the Constitution of Pakistan directly mentions the no-confidence motion, whereas it is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. However, the rules of Lok Sabha do mention the no-confidence motion. One provision which is common in the no-confidence motion of both the countries is that presiding officer has no discretion over it. However, the presiding officer can definitely dismiss such a motion citing violation of rules. An eminent difference is that no confidence motion in Pakistan is moved against the Prime Minister, whereas in India, the no confidence motion is moved against the entire Council of Ministers. The constitutions of India and Pakistan have quite similar provisions regarding matters related to the Parliament. Like Rajya Sabha in India, the Senate in Pakistan can never be dissolved. According to Article 83 of the Constitution of India, the term of Lok Sabha is 5 years and it is considered to be dissolved after the expiration of the said period of 5 years. However, Article 85 of the Constitution of India refers powers to the President of India to dissolve Lok Sabha at any point of time. But the President can dissolve Lok Sabha only on the advice of Council of Ministers. The term of National Assembly in Pakistan is also 5 years. However, the President of Pakistan can dissolve National Assembly on advice of Prime Minister instead of the Council of Ministers. If the Assembly is not dissolved even after the given advice, then it is considered dissolved after the duration of 48 hours. Although, if a no-confidence motion is moved against the Prime Minister, then he does not have the right to give advice regarding the same. However, it is mentioned in the Constitution of Pakistan that President can exercise his discretion on the matter of no-confidence motion. On the other hand, the Constitution of India does not mention any such discretionary power of the President. In India, if the Lok Sabha is dissolved before the expiry of the term, then elections must be held within the next 6 months. According to Article 85, there cannot be a gap of 6 months between the two sessions of either houses of the Parliament. In other words, India has a system of having at least 2 sessions in a year. However, Constitution of India does not mention about the minimum number of sessions in a year. On the other hand, the Constitution of Pakistan mentions that there must be at least 3 sessions of National Assembly in a year. There should not be a gap of 120 days between the 2 sessions. In addition, the minimum working days have been fixed for the National Assembly in Pakistan, whereas there is no such system in India. Recently, a private member's bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha which aimed at legalizing the same-sex marriages in the country. The bill was proposed by the Nationalist Congress Party member Supriya Sule. Same-sex marriage is yet not legal in India, and the bill proposes to amend the Special Marriage Act 1954. The bill proposes to fix the age of marriage at 21 years in case both the parties are males and 18 years in case both are females. It also proposes to replace the words husband and wife with spouse. It would be pertinent to mention here that Section 377 of the IPC, which provided punishment for homosexuality, was struck down in country in 2018 and homosexuality was decriminalized. However, bestiality is still considered a crime. In the Nas Foundation versus Government of Delhi case, the Delhi High Court held that treating homosexual relations as a crime was a violation of fundamental rights. The verdict resulted in decriminalization of homosexual acts involving consenting adults. However, the matter was also taken up in Supreme Court. In 2013, the Supreme Court overturned the High Court's judgment in Suresh Kumar Kaushal versus Nas Foundation case and upheld Section 377 of the IPC. The Apex Court overruled its own judgment in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case in 2018. In this landmark verdict, the Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality in the country by partially striking down the provisions of Section 377 of the IPC. However, same-sex marriages are still not considered legal in India. Same-sex marriages are legal in countries like Spain, Netherlands, Portugal, South Africa, Norway and Sweden. Let us now discuss about Private Member's Bill. A Private Member's Bill is a draft legislation introduced by a parliamentarian who is not a minister. Hence, a bill introduced by an MP of the ruling party who is not a minister will still be a Private Member's Bill. The Constitution of India does not mention a private member or Private Member's Bill. However, the manuals of both the houses define a private member. Both the houses have their own rules regarding the introduction and passing of a Private Member's Bill. Generally, Private Member's Bill are not able to pass in the Parliament. This is because these bills do not contain the plan of the government and the concerned parliamentarian prepares the framework of the bill on his own. The Supreme Court recently struck down the Tamil Nadu Special Reservation Act or Vanniyar Quota Act, citing it as unconstitutional. Under this act, 10.5% internal reservation was allotted to the Vanniyar Kshatriya community out of total reservation of the most backward classes or MBCs in Tamil Nadu. However, the court stated that this act violated the fundamental rights of equality and equal opportunity of 115 other most backward classes and denotified communities in Tamil Nadu. Also, no analysis was done regarding the relative backwardness and representation of MBCs and denotified communities before enactment of this act. This act granted 20% reservation in education and public employment to MBCs and denotified communities of Tamil Nadu. This act allotted 10.5% reservation to Vanniyar Kshatriya community and only 9.5% reservation to other 115 communities out of the total 20% MBC quota in Tamil Nadu. However, before granting such a huge internal reservation to the Vanniyar Kshatriya community alone, no assessment was done to back the claim that Vanniyar Kshatriyas were relatively more backward than the other MBCs and denotified communities. In addition, the reservation afforded to the community under the 2021 Act was based on antiquated data rather than the latest figures. Although the court held that the 2021 Act and the percentage of reservation granted under the Act is ultra-vires the Constitution, but it also underscored that it is the legislative competence of the state to enact a law subclassifying and apportioning percentages within the identified backward classes. The Union Minister of State Dr. Jitendra Singh has recently introduced the Indian Antarctic Bill 2022 in the Lok Sabha. The bill aims to establish a regulatory framework for India's research activities in the Antarctic. It will also provide national measures for protecting the environment of Antarctic and dependent and associated ecosystems. The bill will give effect to the Antarctic Treaty, the Convention on the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Level Resources, and Protocol on the Environment Protection to the Antarctic Treaty. The bill has a comprehensive list of permitted activities on the continent and prohibitions. It, among other things, provides for the establishment of Committee on Antarctic Governance and Environmental Protection. The bill also has provisions related to waste disposal and waste management. India has two active research stations, Maitri, commissioned in 1988, and Bharti, commissioned in 2012 in Antarctica. The first permanent research station, Dakshin Gangotri, which was established in 1983, was later abandoned as it got buried under snow. The central government has recently announced to partially remove Armed Forces Special Power Act, that is AFSPA, from 3 northeastern states, Assam, Manipur and Nagaland. AFSPA is being removed from 15 police station areas in 7 districts of Nagaland, 15 police station areas in 6 districts of Manipur, and 23 districts entirely and 1 district partially in Assam. Actually, 6 civilians were gunned down in Nagaland's Mon district in December 2021 in a botched operation by the security personnel. Post this, there were vociferous demands for AFSPA to be lifted from the region. This prompted the Nagaland Assembly to pass a resolution for repeal of AFSPA. The central government had also constituted a high-level committee in the aftermath of Mon killings. The central government has decided to remove AFSPA from these areas on basis of recommendations given by this committee. Prior to this, the government had lifted AFSPA completely from Tripura and Meghalaya and partially from Arunachal Pradesh in 2015. It is to be noted that AFSPA has been in force in Assam since 1990, in Nagaland since 1995 and in Manipur except the Imphal municipality area since 2004. In addition, AFSPA is also in force in Arunachal Pradesh and parts of Jammu and Kashmir. It would be pertinent to mention that AFSPA was enacted by central government in 1958. The Act enables certain special powers to be conferred upon members of armed forces. This Act enables the armed forces to arrest any person without warrant against whom a reasonable suspicion exists and enter and search without warrant any premises. This Act is imposed or removed completely or partially by the central government in consultation with the state governments, armed forces and central agencies. This Act is imposed for 6 months at one stretch, following which a decision on extension is reviewed under the supervision of the Home Secretary after taking the opinion of the concerned state, forces and agencies. Recently, the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022 has been passed in Lok Sabha. The bill seeks to amend the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Act 2005. The bill empowers the centre to freeze and seize the assets of individuals engaged in illegal activities under the 2005 Act. The 2005 Act only banned the manufacture of weapons of mass destruction. This bill also meets the mandate of international conventions that prohibit the use and production of chemical, biological and toxic weapons. Since India is also a party to these conventions, hence this bill will fulfill India's commitment towards international obligations. This bill clearly mentions that no person shall finance any activity which is prohibited under this Act or under the United Nations Security Council Act. This 2005 Act is applicable to Indians, officers, branches of Indian companies, ships and foreigners present in India and abroad. No person can illegally produce, acquire and develop or transport nuclear weapons under this Act. This Act also provides for similar provisions in the case of biological, chemical or weapons of mass destruction. The Act also prohibits the export of such weapons or materials. The Act empowers the government to declare any activity as an illegal activity. A cardinal point to be noted is that the decision of government or any authority attached to it cannot be challenged in the court. Recently, India signed an economic cooperation and trade agreement with Australia. The agreement is expected to increase bilateral trade between the two countries from the current $27.5 billion to $45 billion over the next 5 years. Australia is a major exporter of raw material and intermediate goods. India will provide concessions with regard to tariff elimination, tariff reduction for their imports. Consequently, many industries like steel, aluminium, textile, etc. will get cheaper raw material in India. Apart from this, visa agreements have also been signed in service sector for Indian students to study and work in Australia. It will make it easier for Indian graduates from science, technology, engineering and mathematics and other students to go and work in Australia. It has also been agreed to amend the local taxation laws to stop the taxation of offshore income of Indian firms providing technical services to Australia. Offshore income means income earned from foreign country. It includes interest received from foreign banks, dividends and interest received from the foreign companies, rent earned from the foreign assets and wages, profits or royalty income from a foreign country, etc. Australia is India's 17th largest trading partner, while India is Australia's 9th largest trading partner. The agreement will promote trade between the two countries and provide an institutional mechanism for encouraging the same. India has also signed a trade agreement with United Arab Emirates in February 2022. India is striving for signing similar agreements with Israel, Canada, the UK, and the European Union. IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has released the third part of its sixth assessment report. The third part of this report is titled Climate Change 2022 Mitigation of Climate Change, and it has been prepared by the IPCC Working Group-III. The third part deals with the climate change mitigation measures and necessary solutions to curb global warming. Also, this report makes a global assessment of climate change mitigation processes and climate reduction goals of various countries. In addition, this report mentions several strategies to limit greenhouse gas emission in different sectors. According to latest report, from 2010 to 2019, average annual greenhouse gas emissions were at their highest levels in human history. However, the average annual rate of emissions slowed down to 1.3% per annum between 2010 and 2019, whereas it was 2.1% per annum between 2000 and 2009. The total emissions of the underdeveloped countries accounted for only 3.3% of the global emissions in 2019. The report mentions that to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade, global greenhouse gas emissions must be reduced by 43% by 2030. It also noted that the unit costs of several low-emission technologies have fallen continuously since 2010. Consequently, from 2010 to 2019, there has been an 85% decrease in the unit cost of solar energy and lithium-ion batteries and 55% in wind energy. Moreover, with the increase in energy efficiency after the introduction of various policies and laws, the use of renewable energy is also rising. The report suggests that various changes in human behavior, such as adopting a plant-based diet, walking, cycling, etc., can also reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. However, priority should be given to reduce emissions in industries such as steel, building materials, and chemicals, as they account for about a quarter of total global emissions. 3 working groups have contributed to the 6th assessment report. The first part of this report was released by Working Group First in 2021, whereas the second part of this report was released by Working Group Second in February 2022. IPCC was established in 1988 by the World Meteorological Organization and the United Nations Environment Programme. IPCC's 5th assessment report was published in 2014. Recently, a baby kangaroo was spotted hopping in the northern part of West Bengal. It is quite possible that the baby kangaroo, which was spotted in Baikantpur Forest Division, might have been smuggled. Experts say that smuggling of animals and birds in West Bengal is not uncommon. West Bengal's northern part is bordered by Bhutan, Bangladesh and Nepal. Besides, West Bengal's northern area also connects with the northeastern states. Therefore, it becomes easy to smuggle animals and birds in West Bengal from Myanmar and other countries due to its geographical location. In this case also, it is likely that the baby kangaroo has been smuggled into India from Myanmar. Actually, only native species are covered under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. As kangaroo is not native to India, hence it does not come under the purview of this act. However, CITES or CITES includes kangaroos. Therefore, if anyone domesticates such a species, then the owner must provide information on the Parivesh portal of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Kangaroo is native to the Australian continent. Kangaroos only have a sizable population in New Guinea. Kangaroos fall under the category of marsupials. Marsupials are a kind of mammals. In addition to kangaroos, about 250 species including wallabies, koalas, wombats, opossums, Tasmanian devil fall under the category of marsupials. Tasmanian devils are carnivorous despite being a marsupial. Marsupials have a sac-like structure in their body in which their newborns grow. The hind legs of kangaroos are very long while the front legs are short. Kangaroos can jump up to 30 feet at a time by using their hind legs. Different species of kangaroos have been included in the least concern to critically endangered category of the IUCN Red List. The length of a newborn kangaroo is only around 1 inch. A new study published in the journal Nature Geoscience reveals that tropical trees' trunk growth is reduced in years when the dry season is drier and warmer than normal. The researchers also found that the effect of drier and warmer years is more dramatic in more arid or warm regions in the tropics. This suggests that climate change may increase the sensitivity of tropical trees to climatic fluctuations. Temperature in the tropics is expected to increase by ½ degree Celsius per decade in the future. The study also explains the large fluctuations in carbon uptake by tropical vegetation globally. Actually, during the hotter or drier years, tropical vegetation grows less and therefore takes up less carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Moreover, the slower growth increases the risk of death of tropical trees, so tropical vegetation may more frequently become a source of carbon dioxide instead of absorbing this greenhouse gas that causes climate change. Besides, the researchers have also studied the tree rings located in tropical regions, and they have also uploaded the tree rings related data to the International Tree Ring Data Bank, so that the essential tree rings data is available to all at once. As a tree grows, a ring-like structure develops in the cross-section of a tree's trunk. This structure is called a tree ring. As trees grow, they incorporate information about the environmental conditions they are living in their annual growth rings. The growth rate of trees is higher in humid climate, hence tree rings become wider in wet monsoon years. On the contrary, tree rings become narrow or thin during dry monsoon years. Indian Oil Corporation, Larsen and Toubro and Renew Power have signed a binding term sheet to set up a joint venture company. The joint venture company aims at developing the green hydrogen sector in India and supplying green hydrogen at an industrial scale. Moreover, the company will also focus upon the timely completion of green hydrogen projects. Hydrogen can be classified into green hydrogen, brown hydrogen, grey hydrogen and blue hydrogen, etc. Green hydrogen is produced through the electrolysis of water by using renewable energy such as solar energy, wind energy, etc. Electrolysis is the process of using electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen obtained from the electrolysis process is called green hydrogen, and its carbon footprint is also less than the other kinds of hydrogen produced via other processes. At present, grey hydrogen is widely produced in India using natural gas and ammonia. Therefore, the government is aiming to use green hydrogen as a substitute for grey hydrogen. The central government has also introduced the Green Hydrogen Policy in February 2022 for promoting green hydrogen. This is in line with the goals of National Hydrogen Mission launched in 2021. Once this policy gets implemented, India will become capable of providing clean fuel to the public and curbing its dependence on fossil fuels. Also, this policy will help in meeting the target of production of 5 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030 and the related development of the renewable energy capacity. Apart from this, the central government is also planning to start a production-linked incentive scheme of Rs 15,000 crores for manufacturing electrolyzers. It is expected that this partnership between the three companies will be a significant step towards production of green hydrogen. This sector will benefit from the infrastructural expertise of Larsen and Toubro, research and development of Indian Oil Corporation, and renewable energy expertise of Renew Power. An American credit rating agency, Standard & Poor's, released its annual report recently. The report mentions that global borrowing by government will reach $10.4 trillion in 2022, which will be about one-third more than the average borrowing between 2016 and 2019. According to the report, although economic reforms are being adopted globally, yet borrowings are likely to remain elevated due to high credit rollover requirements and war in Ukraine. When the loan tenure of a country or company is about to get over, but instead of being repaid, it is added in the new loan, then it is called rollover requirement. The Standard & Poor's analysts opine that the cost of government funding increases with the tightening monetary condition and it directly affects global borrowing. Also, this will pose additional difficulties to sovereigns that have been unable to restart growth, reduce reliance on foreign currency financing, and where interest bills are already critically high on average. Global borrowings in the emerging European, Middle East and African countries are expected to increase from $253 billion to $3.4 trillion. At present, Egypt is set to overtake Turkey as the region's largest issuer of sovereign debt with $73 billion of bond sales. Pointing towards Egypt and Kenya's short-term debt, the analyst stated that among the larger countries globally, Kenya, Egypt and Japan have biggest share of debt that needs to be rolled over. In addition, commercial debt in European, Middle Eastern and African countries is expected to increase to 37% of GDP from 31% in 2016. Commercial borrowings have increased due to pandemic-related costs, increased commercial borrowings in Oman and Saudi Arabia, and deepening high fiscal deficits in Egypt and Romania. Here, commercial borrowings refer to the loans raised by the industrial units of a country from abroad. Similarly, a sovereign bond is a specific debt instrument issued by the government. Sovereign bonds can be issued in both foreign and domestic currencies. The government promises to pay the buyer a fixed amount of interest for a specified number of years and the face value on its maturity. The government exercises two options to meet its expenditure: raising taxes or issuing bonds. Raising taxes is an unpopular move that requires a lengthy legal process. Therefore, most countries prefer issuing sovereign bonds. Let us now look at the questions based on the bulletin.
Questions for this series are: first question is, consider the following statements with reference to the Special Marriage Act 1954. 1. It provides for registering and recognizing inter-religious and inter-caste marriages in India. 2. Under this act, the minimum age for marriage is 21 years for men and 18 years for women. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? Next question is, consider the following statements. 1. In India, the President can dissolve the Lok Sabha at any time on the advice of the Prime Minister. 2. According to Article 85 of the Constitution of India, the tenure of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. Which of the above statement or statements is or are not correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? Next question is, consider the following statements. 1. The Biological and Toxic Weapons Convention 1972, which prohibits the production of biological weapons, came into force in 1975. 2. India adopted this convention in 2018. Which of the above statement or statements is or are not correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? Next question is, consider the following statements with reference to the AFSPA Act. 1. This law is in force since 1990 in Assam, 1995 in Nagaland, and 2004 in whole of Manipur. 2. Under this act, the central or state government declares an area as a disturbed area. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? Last question is, consider the following statements. 1. Section 377 of the IPC was declared unconstitutional in the Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case 2018. 2. Section 377 of the IPC provided punishment for homosexuality. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2?
So for the time being, that's all in this bulletin. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe Drishti IAS Hindi, English and PCS YouTube channels. At the end, let us have a look at few more events of the last week in other news.
The Chief Justice of India has launched FASTER, that is Fast and Secure Transmission of Electronic Records recently. It is a digital platform. This platform will aid in communicating interim orders, proceedings and information of the Supreme Court to authorities concerned. In addition, this platform will help in speeding up judicial activities. The National Medical Commission has issued draft guidelines for the registration of doctors for practicing medicine. These guidelines provide a roadmap for creating a national medical register. According to the guidelines, Indian medical graduates will be eligible for registering in the National Medical Register only after completing their MBBS degree from a recognized college, completing their year-long compulsory internship, and after clearing the National Exit Test. These guidelines also include registration procedures of foreign doctors who desire to come to India for postgraduate courses, fellowships, clinical research, etc. According to the recent data released by the Ministry of Commerce, India's imports registered a growth of 54.7% in financial year 2021-22 against the previous year, and it has reached a record level of about $610 billion. However, exports stood at $418 billion for the same period. SEBI, that is Security Exchange Board of India, has constituted an ad hoc committee under the chairmanship of G. Mahalingam. It is aimed at reviewing the administrative setup of the market infrastructure institution and making recommendations to rectify the prevalent shortcomings of the administrative setup. The committee will also review other aspects such as the appointment of the board of directors and other managerial staff of such institutions as well as their functioning. Geological Survey of India has identified 2 geological heritage sites in India's Himalayan region. One heritage site is the Shivalik Fossil Park in Himachal Pradesh, and the second heritage site is the limestone of Buksa Formation in Sikkim. After including these sites, the number of geological heritage sites in India has reached 34. Geological heritage sites are geological topographies or places that are of cultural importance. These sites provide information about Earth's origin and development. A decline has been recorded in the number of Irrawaddy dolphins in Chilka Lake, whereas the number of Irrawaddy dolphins has increased at the Odisha coast and other water bodies. Irrawaddy dolphins are found in the coastal areas of South and Southeast Asia. Besides, these dolphins are also found in Ayeyarwady River in Myanmar, Mahakam River in Indonesia, and Mekong, the longest river in Southeast Asia. Irrawaddy dolphins have been included in the endangered category of the IUCN Red List. Ministry of Ayush organized Yoga Utsav at Red Fort on the occasion of World Health Day. Several union ministers, members of parliament, ambassadors of different countries and other dignitaries, including the Lok Sabha speaker, participated in the Utsav. Yoga activities included in the Common Yoga Protocol were practiced during the Utsav. Common Yoga Protocol includes various day-to-day yoga activities. It is aimed at promoting yoga practices like yoga, nidra, pranayam, meditation, etc. President Ramnath Kovind honored INS Valsura with the prestigious President's Color Award. The President's Color Award is the highest award presented to a military unit for exceptional service to the country. The Indian Navy was the first Indian armed force to be presented the President's Color Award in 1951. Railway Protection Force has launched a pan-India campaign called Operation Uplabdh. It aims at curbing black marketing and touting of railway tickets. Common people will get railway tickets easily after the successful completion of this operation. In addition, transparency will also be promoted in the railway services. India's first processed steel slag road has been constructed in Surat, Gujarat. This initiative was undertaken under the project Waste to Wealth and Clean India campaign. The campaign is part of a project being jointly implemented by CSIR, Central Road Research Institute, Union Ministry of Steel, Niti Aayog, and ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. Processed steel slag is the waste generated from steel industrial units.